So even if we would have a random snow day here or there, why that should be covered. I don't really think we're going to have any snow days this week, but you never know. I think the snow is going to be this weekend when you guys are off. We're off already. Well, that's why I've got the test on Wednesday. Sorry. All right. So, just going to make sure that we're all on the same page so far. This test is going to cover the Renaissance, Reformation, and the rise of nation states in the early modern period. So one of the things that we're looking at beyond the Renaissance and Reformation is how did Europe go from being a country, or a continent rather, focused on religion and then religious differences, to one focused on nationalism. And so we talked a little bit about how France develops from the French wars of religion between French Protestant Huguenots and French Catholics. Then ultimately it's going to become an absolute monarchy. And I think in this class we went through the development of Louis XIV and as well during that. Are there any questions about any of that stuff? You see how that's going? Yes, no, maybe? Okay, I'm going to play you just a brief little video on the Palace of Versailles. And again, who built Versailles? Louis XIV. Why did he build it? Keep his enemies close, to consolidate power from the nobles. And this is from one of my favorite travel guys, Rick Steves. If you're familiar with him, but this gives you a look at what Versailles is.
Versailles is the palace other palaces were modeled after. The one many tried to outdo, but none succeeded. This ultimate royal palace.
The gardens that you saw there were large enough, and they had a large enough man-made lake in the back that for entertainment in the evening, Louis would have them recreate famous naval battles throughout history. I mean, that's how big that was. You saw the Hall of Mirrors. Mirrors were incredibly expensive at this time and era in history. So basically what you did, why he did that was for an intimidation factor. Whenever there'd be a visitor, he'd have you come through the Hall of Mirrors. And that would be like a hall of platinum siding today. You know, if you went through it, it was just platinum and gold everywhere. And you saw he had gold everywhere as well. So Louis built this. I think I'd given you the figure that it was 40% of the GDP. Rick Steves said it was 50. Whichever figure is accurate tells you that it's a lot. He spent a lot of money on trying to awe and control. Any questions about Versailles? By the way, this is also, you may remember the Treaty of Versailles, the peace treaty that ended World War I and led to almost all of the 20th century, was signed there at that palace. Much, much later. You can see why the French would want to bring the Germans to that palace to humiliate them, because it's the grandest thing France had. Of course, there was no king at that point in France, but hey, it's all right. All right, now, I think where we left off last time, then through the War of Spanish Succession, correct? Yes?
Sure. Yes.
Yes. What effect did the War of Spanish Succession and the building of Versailles have on France?
They were broke.
They were broke. Very good. And ultimately that's going to lead to the French Revolution in 1789. And so the big arc over this time period is that France is going to become what? It's going to be an absolute monarch, and it's also going to be a society that's increasingly going to be broke. Okay, any questions? Any questions? Okay. Just so, I know we covered this last time, but why did Louis want to put his grandson on the throne in Spain? That's right, so they could control most of Europe. And why Spain in particular? What does Spain have? Yeah, it's right there. They're right together. Very good. Okay.
We took a math quiz, we know.
Now, let's talk about the 30 Years' War. The 30 Years' War, the Holy Roman Empire, if you look at the Holy Roman Empire, it's basically all of this stuff in what we consider Central Europe. There was no unified Germany until 1871, so when we speak about Germany, and remember 1871 is 6 years after the American Civil War, to kind of put that in perspective. It was mainly this Holy Roman Empire that we speak of for a lot of Germanic and Central European history. And there was a emperor who ruled a variety of little duchies, dukedoms, principates, and independent cities. And the 30 Years' War, it starts out, and why it's important, is it starts out as a war about religion, Protestants versus Catholic. But it ends up being a war about nationalism, okay? It starts out being a war about religion, Protestants v. Catholic, but it ends up being a war about nationalism. So, and it's going to be broken down into a few phases. Phase 1, the Holy Roman Empire is gone through some turmoil. If you remember, about 100 years before, Luther nailed his 95 Theses up to the church door in Wittenberg in 1517. And then there was a series of wars called, not important you write it down, but the Schmalkaldic Wars, between the 1530s and 1555 between Protestants and Catholics in the same territory. So there had been a lot of fighting. Well, by 1609, the Holy Roman Emperor was a guy by the name of Rudolph II. And Rudolph II, of course, had seen what devastating wars of religion would do, because the Schmalkaldic Wars between Catholics and Protestants had just ripped that territory apart, all in the name of Jesus and the Prince of Peace. We've got the better idea of what Christianity is. So what Rudolph II says, you know, what we're going to do is I am going to give one of the big Protestant sections of the Holy Roman Empire, Bohemia, I'm going to give it religious freedom or religious toleration. And during his lifetime, Rudolph II's lifetime, everything's okay. But Rudolph II dies. And his cousin, Ferdinand, ascends to the throne. And his cousin Ferdinand was a Catholic, and like an incredibly religious, true believing, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Catholic, and the Catholics are the only true religion out there. So, he immediately rescinds this Edict of Toleration for Bohemia, part of the Holy Roman Empire. Well, what do you think the Protestants in Bohemia do? What the heck? What are you doing? And then what do? He says, well, you're going to have to become Catholic. Then what do? Do they become Catholic?
No.
No. They decide to find their own Holy Roman Emperor, who is a Protestant Calvinist. So this looks like the Schmalkaldic Wars Part 2. Protestants and Catholics, Bogus Adventure, Part 2. Wars for the Holy Roman Empire. So they're going to go at it. And so they elect a guy by the name of Frederick, or Frederick II, to the Protestants of Bohemia. And then there's a fight. And let me show you what happens. 1621, the Battle of White Mountain. What do you see hanging from the tree? Peoples. You know, they're not apples. And the words of Billie Holiday, strange fruit hanging from the tree. So, those are Protestants. Catholics won. And when they surrendered, when the Protestants surrendered at the Battle of White Mountain, to prove a point, Emperor Ferdinand said, we are going to killed the heretics.
I'd be dead.
So they strung them up and murdered them. They lynched them, as we would say in America.
They lynched them? That isn't exactly what you said.
Battle of White Mountain.
Yep, right there. Battle of White Mountain, 1621.
So those Catholics believe that Protestants were heretics too.
Yes.
Interesting.
So that's the end of the first phase. So what is Bohemia legally and the rest of the Holy Roman Empire going to be now? Catholic. So what's this first phase all about? Religion, right? It's all about religion. We're going to be Catholic or we're going to be Protestant.
These people just need to calm down.
Well, you would think so.
Do people not think like, wow, they're killing people? That's not very holy.
You would think that, but do we still have religious holy wars today?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, paging 9/11, paging 9/11.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously though. I mean, it's really, the mentality isn't that much different. It just happened to happen in Christianity in 1621. And there were no jet planes and such. But I mean, it's the idea that my religion alone is the right religion. And if I alone am exclusive to the absolute truth, that gives me the right to do whatever I think is fit, including kill vast amounts of people. So now we move to the second phase of this war. Okay? We're in the 1620s by now. And what's going to happen? More killing. Now, I need to give you a little background. At the end of the Schmalkaldic Wars in 1555, and again, you don't have to spell the Schmalkaldic Wars, you can just say the Wars of Religion of the Holy Roman Empire in the 16th century. But in 1555, there was something known as the Peace of Augsburg, and that's what stopped the fighting. And it was a type of religious toleration today that we would say is pretty crappy. Okay? Because what the Peace of Augsburg said, I said, the Holy Roman Empire was made up of lots of little tiny independent cities, lots of little tiny dukedoms, principalities, little tiny kingdoms. So it's just, it's like a patchwork quilt of a lot of things, nominally ruled by this emperor. Okay? Well, what the Peace of Augsburg in 1555, ending the Schmalkaldic Wars, did is it said, okay, to stop this bloodshed, you just follow whatever your local prince or ruler is religiously. So if Cody is your duke, and he's Catholic, you're Catholic. If Abby is your princess, and she's Protestant, you follow her. Okay? If Natasha is Lutheran, you follow her. Okay? If Hannah is a Druid, you follow. You're not a Druid, are you? No.
She goes to your church.
Okay.
She goes to my church.
Yeah, I know, but I just didn't know if you were just practicing Druidism on the side. I'm not supposed to know about it. I saw you with a little evergreen tree, and I thought maybe. Anyway, but you follow whatever your prince is. You follow whatever your prince is.
So they worship G.
Okay, so what Ferdinand's going to do, and again, Emperor Ferdinand is what? He is a strong Catholic. So he basically says, the Peace of Augsburg, which has kept the peace for 75 years, gone, baby, gone. So what do you have to be if you live in the HRE? You got to be Catholic. And what do you think all of the Protestants throughout the Holy Roman Empire did?
What the heck?
They went, what the heck? And they weren't happy, and they rose up. Now, unfortunately for Ferdinand, as he wasn't like the world's best military genius. However, he did have a good friend who was a great military genius. His name was Albrecht von Wallenstein. Say it with me. Albrecht. Albrecht.
Albrecht. Von.
Loudly, like a PH sound. Von Fun! Fun! You're not saying it. Fun! Fun! There we go. Still not into it. Wallenstein! 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 Well, isn't that a great name? Albrecht von Wallenstein. Well, he was a great military genius, and he was rich. He was like Bill Gates, rich. He was handsome as
Where's the picture?
Cody.
Yeah.
You know, handsome as Cody, like Brad Pitt wannabe, but German. And he had the military skills of an Alexander the Great.
Man, this guy was a package.
He was the package deal. He was awesome. He was. What did you just say, Liz?
I said yummy.
All right, yes. In your notes, all right. Albert Wallenstein, he was yummy. Yummy, yummy, yummy. All right.
That made me so
Oh God, I'm nervous.
So, Wallenstein leads the Catholic forces of the Holy Roman Empire, leads Ferdinand's forces, and what do they do to the Protestants?
Crush him.
They crushed them. They slaughtered them. They smashed them. It's like he's the cook and they're the eggs. And Wallenstein makes an omelet.
Oh, I love that.
Boom! Now, here's the thing. As soon as the second phase of the war is over, what does Emperor Ferdinand do to Wallenstein? He fires him. Now, why? Why does this happen? Can you give me an idea why they would fire? Why you would fire him?
Because he has power.
Okay, well, one is what was the word that you used, Liz? He was yummy. So he was charismatic. He was attractive. He was wealthy. He was, all of those things. What was Ferdinand not? Yummy. He was not yummy. He was not handsome. He was not charismatic. He was not a good military man. And even though he was emperor, he wasn't quite as wealthy as Wallenstein. So why would he want to fire him?
So that he could take the, what's the word? He could, the recognition for what Alfred did.
That's right. It's like, if I fire him, then I get to take the credit. And plus, he might get the idea what? If he's the one actually winning the war, and he's rich and he's powerful.
He could take over.
Ooh, you got it. He could take over. Very good. So I want to get rid of this guy.
So what happens when he needs him again?
Well, we're going to get to that. And there's
Oh, look at him,
Wallenstein.
Liz.
See?
A snack.
That is a cutie pie.
I mean,
He is pretty yummy.
look at that. Look at that widow's peak. Nothing says yummy like that widow's
It's a
peak.
dominant trait.
It is a dominant trait, which shows he was a dominant man.
He died.
All right, so what happens next? Whoops. Then, what's going to happen is we move to the next phase of the battle, next phase of the war. And in this phase 3 of this war, there begins to be a massive shift. Now, Ferdinand starts out this war, and Maria, what does the war start out as? It's between what and what? What's it over? Religion. It's about religion. It's about religion. Then all of a sudden, in this next phase, it switches from religion to politics, or from religion to the N-word, nationalism. Okay? That's pretty important. And you might say, well, Reeves, what do you mean? What's the idea here? Well, here's the idea. If you look at said map of Europe, here you got your basic France, right here. Here you got your basic Sweden. Now, what is the predominant religion of France?
Catholic.
Catholic, very good. What is the HRE?
The what?
Protestants.
No, because remember, the emperor, what is the emperor?
Catholic.
Catholic, so it's officially, there are Protestants there, but he's trying to kill them.
But they're,
Okay, and what's Sweden?
are they Protestant?
They're Protestants, they're big time Lutherans.
Yeah.
Okay? So, now here's what's odd. France and Sweden ally together against the emperor of the HRE. Now, Katie, why is that odd?
Because the whole reason of the war is because, like, of religion. But they're both different religions that are fighting, but they ally together against the HRE.
Yes, so you would think, very good, because you would think that if it's really about Protestants and Catholics, then why would a Catholic in a Protestant country ally to fight against a Catholic emperor?
Because it's switching to national.
Because it's switching to nationalism. Now, Shelby, with your vast knowledge of geography, and your quizzes prove that you have a vast knowledge of geography.
Good job.
Okay, now, why would France and Sweden both not want a strong, thriving, expansive Holy Roman Empire?
Because it would be really big.
Because it would be really big. Any other reason, Cole? The Holy Roman. Why would Catholic France and Lutheran Protestant Sweden not want a strong, thriving Holy Roman Empire? They're right next to it, and if it's bigger, what can it do?
Take over.
Take over more territory. Okay? And they don't want that. And if France and Sweden defeat the Holy Roman Empire, what do they get out of the deal?
They get to take over Sweden.
They get to take over part of this territory, and they get to expand their empires. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, you see, what's the focus? It's not about religion, it's about nationalism and national borders. Okay? So in the second phase, this is a big switch. And so you have the alliance of France and Sweden under Sweden's most really famous king of all time, Gustavus Adolphus. Gustavus Adolphus.
I like that.
I like that name too. Let's say it together. Gustavus
Adolphus.
Adolphus. Let's say it together. Gustavus Adolphus.
One more time.
What?
Write it.
Okay. Oh, that's a good idea. Let's say it together. So the side was pretty silent. Gustavus Adolphus. Gustavus Adolphus.
One more time.
Gustavus Adolphus.
Everybody.
Okay. Now, and he's the king of Sweden. Now, Gustavus Adolphus is, as you might say, Liz, yummy as well. Okay? He is yummy. He is a great king. He is a great warrior king. All the things are going well for him. And Ferdinand is getting his clock cleaned. He is losing up and down. He is like, it's 1985 and he's the Chicago Cubs. They're just losing.
Because he doesn't.
Okay?
Now it's the Cardinals.
Now, I said 1985. Okay. So, what's going down here? Well, finally, Ferdinand says, Wallenstein, I fired you before? JK, I need you back, my friend.
April Fools.
Yeah, we're all tight, we're all good. You want to come back, right? Right?
He did.
And he did. Yeah, and he did. And he defeats, Wallenstein defeats Gustavus Adolphus at the Battle of Lütz in 1632. And not only is Gustavus Adolphus killed, but one yummy kills another yummy.
Liz, you just missed it.
What? Wait, I thought that France and Sweden were friends.
They're friends against the Holy Roman Empire.
Wallenstein is with the HRE.
Oh.
It's a toxic high school relationship.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I hate you. Wait, no, come back.
Holy Roman.
Bye.
I didn't.
And it's taken to the ultimate toxic high school relationship
Yeah.
because Ferdinand has Wallenstein's assassinated.
I knew that. I stand by my.
What if he needs him again?
No, Hannah, that's not how this works. Kill him.
It's not, he's like, because why does he have him killed, Hannah?
So he doesn't take over.
So he doesn't take over. He just knows he's better than I am, and if he takes over, this is gonna be a problem.
Sounds like he just has some insecurity issues.
I think he does.
He needs to address those.
And with Wallenstein out of the way, what do all the Protestants do?
They all are like, ha ha.
We're like, hey, we're not afraid of you, Ferdinand. What did you do? You just
You're not yummy.
offed you're not yummy. You just offed your big time warrior. We don't need you anymore. So what had got him really mad to begin with? The Edict of Restitution. So what does he put in place? He says, I'm going to get rid of the Edict of Restitution. Religious toleration for all now, folks. We're all going to be friends now.
So he takes back.
This guy has some.
I don't like him.
He's bipolar.
Yeah.
He's fake.
So he took it away and put it back in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they said he killed the main guy, and then all the Protestants like bring him up to his hair now.
So then he was like, oh, ha, now you have to.
And he only does that because he's trying to save his own skin.
So that they can't fight him.
Yeah.
Is that whenever you get
Yep. Well, the Edict of Restitution undid the Peace of Augsburg, and said that the edict, by rescinding it, he means he's tearing it up.
And so
The Edict of Restitution said that everyone had to be Catholic. Now you could be what you wanted to, because Protestants are fighting because they're seeing what the problem is.
So you
Now-
can be whatever you want, or you can just be whatever.
now you have religious freedom again because
More religious freedom. Okay? So, long-term effects, folks. What are the effects of the 30 Years' War? Why is this war so incredibly important for us? Well, it's important for the variety of reasons. First of all, a third of Germany's population, or the German-speaking part of Europe, dies. Why do so many people die? Well, A, that's where the war's fought, for the most part, are all in the German lands. B, when armies are marching through, today, we have supply groups that go and supply the troops and all of this. Back then, when soldiers were marching through different territories and they needed supplies, how would they get the supplies? They would take them. They would pillage. And so that led to devastation of the German farmlands. And the varying armies that would move back and forth would ultimately go through and also level a lot of the towns. They would destroy the towns as they went through. In fact, there's a town on the Rhine River called Rautenburg, German-speaking town, and there's a apocryphal story. But if you go to Rautenburg today, which is a big tourist place, they have a huge gate, and on top of this gate, they've got like one of the world's biggest cuckoo clocks. You know what a cuckoo clock is? Comes out and they've got a big white guy with just two ginormous beer steins.
Oh, wow. This is America.
Okay, no, this is Germany.
I know, but it sounds like a...
Okay, well the guy comes out, and according to the story, the reason why Rautenburg wasn't destroyed during the Holy Roman, during the 30 Years' War, is the mayor ran out of the city gate, asked the army that was getting ready to just lay siege, said, look, is there any way I can convince you not to kill and destroy my city? Is there anything you do? He's like, well, if you can drink these two steins without stopping, I won't.
Wow. This
And he
guy
said,
got what you-
deal. And so he got there and just started guzzling it down, and according to the Rautenburg legend, 60 ounces later, he didn't stop. And the town was saved. It's one of the possible origins of Oktoberfest.
Sky. Legend.
So anyway, but there was a big economic depression that came out of this because cities were leveled, farmlands destroyed, and of course trade routes were devastated. You couldn't trade because there was constant warfare. So, what's another effect? Well, one of the first major international peace treaties was signed, and that was called the Peace of Westphalia in 1648. Now let's talk a little bit about the Peace of Westphalia for a moment. What is the Peace of Westphalia? The Peace of Westphalia, as I said, was one of the first international treaties in the early modern world. And it's going to give France the Alsace-Lorraine, which is this territory that has coal and other mineral deposits that's right on the border between Germany and France, as you can see right on this map. Now you might say, Reeves, who gives a crud about the Alsace-Lorraine? Well, let me tell you what happens. France takes it from Germany in 1648. Okay? There's a war between Germany and France called the Franco-Prussian War in 1871 that actually starts modern Germany. Okay? 1871. In that war, France, or Germany's still salty about this and takes back the Alsace-Lorraine. Then there's this little conflict you might have heard of between 1914 and 1918 called World War I. What does France do at the Treaty of Versailles? Takes back the Alsace-Lorraine. What does Adolf Hitler do in World War II?
Takes it back.
Takes back the Alsace-Lorraine.
So
What
who
is
has
that?
it now?
What is that?
It's basically where Strasbourg is. It's this little strip of land right here.
It's just a piece of land, just come
It's a piece of land, but it's got a ton of coal in it. And why would people be so up in arms about coal?
It all makes
Why do they want you, man?
I don't know.
You know?
Because he can dump.
Well, there is that. There is that. Any other reasons?
it makes energy.
Energy.
Energy. It was the oil of way back then. And so this is going to be a political football between Germany and France for the better part of the next 300 years. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Third, the Habsburgs are going to be, their power is going to be diminished. Okay? How so? Well, first of all, the Habsburgs had spent a couple of centuries making some key marriages, so they basically ruled almost all of Europe. And that's all going to be lost now. They used to control what we would consider the Netherlands and Belgium, or the Dutch Low Countries right here. Okay? They also controlled Spain. They also controlled what we would consider the Holy Roman Empire, which would be Germany, Czechoslovakia, Austria, Hungary, and northern Italy. What this is going to basically do is incredibly weaken the power of the Holy Roman Empire. Yeah.
So, I don't know.
The Habsburg were a royal family.
Oh, okay.
They were a royal family. Just like the Windsors, you know, Queen Elizabeth II is part of the royal family, the Windsors. This was a royal family.
And they were from where?
They were originally from Vienna, but they controlled Spain. You remember Charles V in the Luther movie?
Yeah.
He was a Habsburg.
Okay.
Okay? They controlled tons of stuff. They controlled the new Spain, okay? They controlled half the New World, in theory. They controlled Spain. They controlled Germany. They controlled what would have been the Netherlands, or the Dutch republics. They controlled Hungary, Austria, northern Italy. And after this, they're broken up, okay? Their power is really broken up.